Tonight on News Hour, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management says Jigawa State is the worst hit by flood this year. INEC swears in 19 resident electoral commissioners, urges them to avoid visits to government houses. Emirates Airline suspends flights to Nigeria over trapped funds. And away from Nigeria, Ethiopia marks 2-year war anniversary after ceasefire deal. Welcome to the News Hour on Trust Television. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for joining. And now the details. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the release of 12,000 metric tons of grains as relief materials to victims of flood disaster across the country. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, who announced this while briefing newsmen at the State House in Abuja on Thursday, said that the federal government has so far intervened in 28 states of the Federation. But what will probably fuel debate over the next few days is her assertion that Jigawa, Anambra and Kogi states are the most affected states by the floods, and that Bayelsa State is not among the top 10 states devastated by the disaster. Kende Amodu has more.
Official statistics from the ministry, number of deaths recorded per state, number of people displaced, number of injuries, houses damaged, farmlands per hectares damaged, as well as general population affected, are some of the indices used in assessing the states affected most by the floods. The 2022 flood data provided by the Humanitarian Ministry as of 24th October indicates that death toll in Jigawa stood at 91, 77 lives were lost in Anambra State, while in Kogi over 471,000 persons were affected. These statistics sharply contradict perceptions held in some quarters that Bayelsa State may be the worst hit, especially as it is mostly below sea level.
But it will also interest you to know that Bayelsa is not even amongst the 10 most hit. I think Jigawa is number one. And we have taken intervention to Bayelsa. And it's still ongoing. We are using the Nigerian Air Force to access the inaccessible areas.
Government has responded with President Muhammadu Buhari approving the release of 12,000 metric tons of grains comprising of sorghum, millet and gari from the National Strategic Reserve to NEMA for distribution to the 36 states of the country and the FCT. A plan has been put in place by NEMA to transport and hand over relief materials to state governments and the FCT authority, while the agency has already provided warehouse facilities in 6 geopolitical zones of the Federation to receive the items.
We have engaged the services of security agencies to support us secure our warehouses in the states, and when we're doing even the distributions, they are present there.
The humanitarian minister is dismissing claims by some state governments that they have not received any form of support from NEMA. She's also commiserating with those who lost their loved ones as a result of the flood disaster, but is pointing out that some persons refuse to be evacuated by areas prone to flood despite early warnings.
As I mentioned, we have evacuated those that agreed to be evacuated. Some people feel these are their ancestral places, and so they do not want to leave, or they will not leave, and then they face the consequences.
There is an ongoing assessment of farmlands damaged with a view to compensating those affected by the floods, while temporary shelters have been erected in 22 states to accommodate those displaced. From State House, Abuja, Kende Amodu, Trust TV News.
Meanwhile, the federal government has handed over the 228 hectares Agari irrigation project to farmers in Jigawa and Kano states. This is contained in a statement by the Director, Irrigation and Drainage Ministry of Water Resources, Oyeronke Oluniyi and made available to journalists in Abuja on Thursday. The handover was done by the Director, Irrigation and Drainage Ministry of Water Resources, Oyeronke Oluniyi, on behalf of the Minister, Suleiman Adamu. 5 local government areas comprising Kazaure and Roni in Jigawa and Kunchi, Dambata and Makoda in Kano State under the Hadeja Jama'ari River Basin Development Authority are beneficiaries. She said that the project was part of the government's food security and job creation efforts. And now on political matters, the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Bola Tinubu says he will assist Kogi State to find a lasting solution to the menace of annual flooding in the state. The APC presidential candidate donated 100 million naira to the water flood victims in Lokoja, describing the loss of lives and property during the flooding in the state as unfortunate. Tinubu, represented by Governor Yahaya Bello, assured that if elected next year, the people of the state will get what is due to them. While urging victims to see the natural disaster as an act of God, Tinubu said that the voice and demands of Kogi people will be heard loud and clear, not only in the campaign council but also in the incoming APC administration. With exactly 113 days to the 2023 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has appointed 19 newly residential electoral commissioners to ensure a smooth run of the polls. Noel Samson reports that 5 of the 19 regs are returning commissioners.
While swearing in the newly appointed regs, the INEC chairman charged them to be diligent and devote their loyalty to Nigeria, urging them not to compromise the integrity of the commission in any way.
Over the years, the commission worked tirelessly to reform the electoral process and introduce many innovations that are generally acknowledged to have improved the electoral process. In doing so, we will continue to acknowledge the sacrifice and dedication of our hard-working staff. As you are deployed to states of the Federation, you will be responsible for human and material resources. Work with the staff and be guided by the provisions of the law and our various regulations and guidelines. In dealing with the general public, you should be guided by the provisions of the Commission's Code of Conduct. You should not be visitors to government houses and must never hold unofficial meetings with politicians, even after official working hours.
The newly appointed commissioners promised to play by the books and not to disappoint Nigerians.
All I have to say is that we pledge to abide by the oath of office and oath of allegiance that we have taken. And we're happy that the chairman in his speech also emphasized that fact that our oath of office and oath of allegiance is to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We do not owe any individual a responsibility to show allegiance to them. What we will do will be based on what the law says and what the protocols about elections say.
The 19 regs were then deployed to their geopolitical zones but outside the states of origin, in line with the INEC's regulations. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has demanded an apology from his All Progressives Congress counterpart Bola Tinubu and his running mate Kashim Shettima for mocking entrepreneurship. Atiku, in a statement on Wednesday by his media advisor Paul Ibe, accused Tinubu and Shettima of talking condescendingly about other presidential candidates at a meeting with members of the private sector in Niger State on Tuesday. Shettima said that the ability to sell bottled water does not make anyone an expert on the economy. Atiku's aide, however, said that the remarks from the candidates of the APC show gross irresponsibility and disrespect. The statement further said that Shettima should apologize to Nigerian workers, especially the thousands that benefit from Atiku's businesses, for his irresponsible statement. Now, supporters of the All Progressives Congress in Kaduna State will have to wait for another 24 hours for the judgment on pre-election matters concerning the conduct of the APC governorship primaries. The court had adjourned sitting to Wednesday and Thursday to enable it to rule on the matter in the state. Counsel to both parties did not object to the ruling. It could be recalled that the APC governorship aspirant, Sani Sha'ban, instituted a lawsuit and petitioned Senator Uba Sani to the national headquarters of the APC, complaining that the primary election that produced Uba Sani as the candidate for the 2023 governorship was fraudulent, as the list of delegates used was fake.
On Monday, it was adjourned to today for judgment. So unfortunately, or let's say fortunately, because God knows best, the judgment is not ready again today. Like I said the other day, we're in a political season. There are a lot of political cases going on. I can imagine in this court alone, there are more than 10 political cases. That's even a conservative estimate. One judge has to write decisions, has to read, and this is, so the pressure of work is too much. So we have to understand. But hopefully, we're assured tomorrow, hopefully.
The judgment the judgment is not ready today. We have just been informed by the registry of the court that judgment will not be delivered tomorrow by the grace of God.
Okay, around which time?
Normally, the sitting of the court is from 9 o'clock and so soon thereafter. Yes.
Thank you.
Now, staying with political matters, the crisis rocking the All Progressives Congress APC in Adama is showing no sign of ending anytime soon, especially with recent fracas between the party members. The state chapter of the party has distanced itself from the purported Adama State Presidential Campaign Council membership list, which the party said that was in circulation on social media and some national dailies for some days. Salis Lawan tells us more.
The list, which has Senator Aisha Binani as the state APC campaign coordinator, but some members, is without consultation with party members, both at state and local government levels. Briefing journalists on the development after a closed-door meeting with party executives and local government chairman, APC Publicity Secretary Mohammed Abdullahi said the party has rejected the list in circulation.
Mandated from Senator Aisha Mohammed Binani as Adamawa State Coordinator, who single-handedly generated the list without consulting the party at both state and local government level for necessary inputs and final approval. On inquiry by the party, it was also confirmed that our members of the National Assembly, State Assembly, candidates, and critical stakeholders were not consulted either. It will be recalled that the National Presidential Campaign Council contacted the party at the national level for necessary input and final approval before the campaign secretariat released the list.
He further said the party has noted complaints from stakeholders who were inexplicably omitted, calling for calm, as according to him, a comprehensive Adama Presidential Campaign Council list will be released soon.
The National Campaign Secretariat did not confer any right on any state coordinator to bypass the party and act unilaterally. In view of the above, the party hereby rejects the list in circulation and urges party members and the general public to disregard same.
Aisha Binani, whose election as APC governorship candidate was nullified by Federal High Court, was named Adama State Coordinator for the APC presidential campaign. She defeated Nuhuri Badu, pioneer EFCC chairman, among other contestants. From Yola, Salis Lawan, Trust TV News.
Moving on to security matters, the Defense Headquarters says that there is no cause for alarm over the recent security advisories by the United States and the United Kingdom. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Musa Amadami, and the Director of Defense Media Information, Major General Jimmy Akpo, both gave the assurance at the bi-weekly media briefing in Abuja on Thursday. At the briefing, the Army reported that over 40 terrorists were neutralized by military troops, while 145 other terrorists have surrendered in the last 2 weeks. The U.S. and Britain had last week warned of possible terror attacks in Abuja, especially at the government buildings, places of worship, schools, and other centers where large crowds gather. However, the Nigerian government said that it won't be stampeded by the terror advisories, insisting that Nigeria is safer than it was in May 2015 when President Muhammadu Buhari assumed office. The leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has approached the Supreme Court to appeal the ruling by the Court of Appeals, staying the execution of the court's judgment discharging him. In a statement, one of Kanu's lawyers, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, said it became pertinent to approach the Apex Court after a thorough review of the said ruling by the defense team led by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mike Ezehome. According to Kanu's legal team, the said ruling has no foundation in law or facts and should be set aside by the Apex Court. The legal team noted that their decision was approved by Nnamdi Kanu. Ejiofor said that the team will follow up on the administrative process to ensure that both appeals are given an accelerated hearing in line with the extant fast-track rules of the Supreme Court. Now, the gunmen who kidnapped about 39 children working on a farm in Katsina State have demanded the sum of 30 million naira as ransom for the release of the captives. According to a source in the community, the bandits have established contact using the cell phone of one of the victims, demanding a ransom of 30 million naira. Earlier, according to the source, 1 million was paid to the bandits as levy before mobilizing the children by a representative of the farm. No fewer than 39 children, comprising boys and girls, were abducted on a farm in the Mairua community of the Faskari local government area of the state last Sunday. The bandits who came in their numbers invaded the farm where the children were working and carted away the minors. Police spokesman in the state, Gambo Isa, said that there was an ongoing effort by the police to rescue the victims. According to him, the command was in synergy with the state government and other security agencies for rescue operations. In a similar vein, wife of the Commander, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC, Commandant General's Special Intelligence Squad, Deputy Commandant Apollos Dandaura, has been abducted in Nasarawa State. The abductors, who were carrying AK-47 rifles, invaded the victim's residence and started shooting sporadically to scare residents before they took her away. Reports say that the commander's younger brother, who is also a personnel of the NSCDC, was shot during the incident in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital. He is currently receiving treatment at an undisclosed hospital in Lafia and is reportedly responding to treatment. Confirming the incident on Thursday, the public relations officer of the Nasarawa State Command of NSCDC, Jerry Victor, stated that the whereabouts of the victim is still unknown. According to him, the command had already deployed its personnel to the area in order to rescue the victim unhurt, adding that the kidnappers are yet to reach out to the command and the family of the victim. Now, 8 armed bandits and 6 vigilante members lost their lives on Tuesday during a gun duel around Kundu axis near Zungeru in Ushishi local government area of Niger State. According to reports, the incident occurred around 9 p.m. after the community got hint of the suspected kidnappers' movement across Kundu towards Akere, with a large number of rustled cattle. The vigilante operatives immediately went after the bandits, which led to the casualties on both sides. Locals said that while the criminals were passing through their usual route, they also got wind through their informants of the vigilantes' plan to engage them, hence they prepared for a showdown. Meanwhile, Public Relations Officer for Niger Command, DSP Wasiu Abiodun, could not be reached for reaction on the incident. You're watching the News Hour on Trust Television. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at how Imam was poisoned to death. Details of this and more after the break.
At Taj Bank, we are a non-interest bank like no other. That's because we do not just share in your success story, but we also share your risk like it's ours. And that's why we say at Taj Bank, our only interest is you.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dssPR@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services.
Welcome back. You're watching the News Hour on Trust Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management says Niger State is the worst hit by flood this year. INEC swears in 19 resident electoral commissioners, urges them to avoid visits to government houses. Now, moving on, the Northeast Development Commission says that the level of damage in the zone needs extensive reconstruction to revive socio-economic activities. NEDC Managing Director Mohammed Agari said this in Abuja on Wednesday during a signing of a memorandum of understanding with the Nigerian Society of Engineers. He said to accelerate its work in the region, the Commission fast-tracked the MOU to fulfill the Executive Order 5 that urges government agencies to prioritize patronage of local contents when engaging in procurement. Al-Ghali said that the master plan, which covers a lot of activities, has 530 projects, and all of them need the input of engineers. President NSE Tasiu Saad Wudil said that the body wanted the NEDC to achieve the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the Northeast. Now, the rising security challenges within the country have made vigilante groups a necessity as security agencies battle to contain the challenge. Although these voluntary groups that operate mostly in communities were not armed, the rise in insecurity made some of them to resort to locally made guns. However, with the recent ban on the usage of arms by vigilantes in the FCT, many have suggested that the ban can be replicated across states. Our reporter in Kaduna has this update on what the people in the state make of calls for the disarmament of vigilantes.
Vigilante groups came into existence in Kaduna in the last 3 decades. The groups works with police and other security agencies to address activities of criminal elements in communities. In the past, they used stick, knife in the discharge of their duties.
Banning ammunition by the vigilante is not something new. All of us that are doing this job, voluntary job, we know the rules and regulation governing carrying an ammunition. We are not allowed to carry AK-47. We are not allowed to carry any sophisticated weapon that are being used by the police or the army. We are not allowed to do that. And then because of the abuse, but we can carry den gun. Den gun is allowed if you have the license to carry it too. And then you cannot use it without permission.
Some community leaders in Kaduna, while commending vigilant groups for their contribution to security provision in communities, want some form of government regulations in the activities of voluntary security outfits.
They carry it for self-defense because you cannot go starting giving your life to protect somebody without any defense. So you have to get your all well armed according to the law of the state.
The government should come into their assistance. Let them see where they can go into. Even they can send them to the police college here, just at least to give them that moral training to know how to use the ammunition.
Speaking, I don't agree or I don't support this vigilante group carrying firearms. They need to be regulated. So this has to do with a lack of proper training.
However, the recruitment process of community-based security groups lacks proper record of members, raising concern among many Nigerians.
Anyone you see with our own uniform, we have his pooled details. We have his name, we have his name, we have all what is required to be a member.
Community leaders, vigilante groups, and community members, however, want government to regulate activities of the group considering the present security challenge in the north. Bella Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Now, properties worth millions of naira were destroyed by a midnight fire outbreak in Oshogbo, Osun State capital, on Thursday. Residents said that the fire was caused by power surge due to electricity spike in the area. Hamid Oegbade has more on this.
Buildings had furniture materials, while the other had inflammable items including foam mattresses. Residents said the fire was caused by power surge. The chairman of Oshogbo West local government, Ademola Olaniyan, appealed to residents to remain calm and allow firefighters to perform their duties.
From what we heard from the people that were living in this area, we were told it was a power surge that got to the extent of cutting rattling cable.
The spokesperson of the Osun State Fire Service, Ibrahim Adekunle, said the firefighters responded to the distress call from the residents immediately, noting that the situation is under control.
Around 2:30 early today, we received distress calls from the people of the state that there's a fire at Akindeku here. And as our usual practice, we engage and we deployed our men for the operation. And when we got here, we just saw that there's a mighty fire in between two buildings. You know, we can see the Art Deco and another building beside. So the fire was suspected to have started from the other building, very close to the Art Deco. Though for now, we cannot ascertain the actual cause of the fire. But we got here around 2:30, and since then, as you can see on ground, we have engaged the fire and we have been trying to put it out.
The content in the building is not so easy that it can easily go off like that. The more you put water, when you leave, before you come back, it's already inflamed again. We have foams, cutting materials and clothings, so it's not easy. They have gone to replace water about 10 times, and the fire you can see is still on.
The residents of the area commended the firemen for taming the inferno. Hamid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Oshogbo.
The House of Representatives Committee on Defense has decried the non-patronage of military hardware from the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON. Chairman, House Committee on Defense, Babajimi Benson, made this known on Thursday when the Director General of DICON, Major General Hassan Tafida, appeared before the committee to defend the 2022 budget performance and 2023 budget proposal of the corporation. Benson questioned the rationale behind the non-patronage of the rich array of military and non-military equipment produced by DICON by security outfits and other stakeholders in the country. The DICON DG, Major General Tafida, explained that the DICON occupies a pride of place in Nigeria's evolution as a premier parastatal of the Defense Ministry, solely mandated to produce arms, ammunition, ordnance material and other war machines for the military and other security agencies. He noted that most security outfits were not patronizing DICON owing to the wrong perception that most equipment produced by DICON were solely for the military.
The committee urges you to expand your boundaries by engaging in intensive research and production of military hardware and software that will not only support the ongoing fight against insurgency and other security challenges in Nigeria, but also available for export. How much patronage do you get from the services? You manufacture bulletproof vests. Recently, you manufactured the Ezugu MRAP.
The perceived notion by most of the security agents that DICOM was only meant for army. So they go outside. Even the armies go outside to augment what they get from DICOM because of the state of the machine. If we have the modern machine, so we will even be exporting excess. That is what we are planning now, sir.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU, Usmanu Danfodio University, Sokoto chapter wants the federal government to call the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, to order before his actions towards members plunge the labour sector into another strike. Addressing a press conference in Sokoto on Wednesday, ASU chairman Muhammad Al-Mustafa accused the minister of selective service for the payment of outstanding salaries of members of the union. Al-Mustafa accused the minister of being biased in settling the outstanding salaries, saying that he is using his office to settle some personal scores against a certain segment of academic staff that are not his professional colleagues.
Put the record straight and to expose the heinous activities of the Minister of Labour and Employment, a medical doctor, approved the salary payment of members that are only medical doctors in the university, just to favor his professional colleagues, with the intention of sabotaging the union in all fronts and further create disharmony in the university system in Nigeria. This is to further and specifically state: A. All academic staff of Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, including those in the College of Health Sciences, were fully and undoubtedly on a total and comprehensive strike right from the beginning on the 14th of February till its suspension on the 14th of October 2022. B. None of the members of ASU Kudus or any section of the academic staff of the branch pulled out of the strike action until when the national body called for its suspension on the 14th of October 2022. C. Not all members of Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria, MDCAN, of Usman Danfodio University Teaching Hospital, Kudus, are academic staff. So how can they are working in
the train transportation, though not operational now, has been described as affordable and safer by those who experienced the good old days of the railway transportation decades ago. In Makurdi, Jimmy Azande went to see what has remained of the once busy railway terminal. The report.
This is what is left of the tracks in Makurdi that host one-way terminus on the Port Harcourt-Enugu-Kafanchan-Maiduguri route, but not yet in the Makurdi area. Some residents speak on the good old days.
Yes, for the period of time that this thing have not been moving, people suffered a lot. You see, but there's one thing that I observe, like this, as they call it, the railway call it, I think narrow gauge or something like that. There are the other places that the train is running, but this very one from Port Harcourt to Kafanchan, for long time been running. I don't know the reason why. You know, if there is movement of train, people from the local village, they used to bring something to the town. When they are going there, they buy something and take it back to their station.
To some, the trains were quite conducive for their businesses. They counted huge profits due to minimal transportation costs compared to the road transportation.
We do travel to Kawacha to bring this our goods. Formally, when we buy them, we book it inside the local train. The local train will move freely from Kawacha to Makurdi. There will be no disturbance along the road. Even when we get to here, Makurdi, they will discharge the wagon. I put it at this last track here. We just off-road our diesel and put it inside. Not having the pain of vehicle dropping it there and we pushing them. We are feeling it greatly. And it has affected the prices of our goods. The goods are very costly now. Even we that are selling it, before we bring it here, to come and bargain on how to sell it and get something to eat, it will be very hard. Because when you are looking at it, they are very expensive.
Concerning the railway line, you understand? I would say that before is more better than now. Because we that are selling here, we are suffering. You understand? Coming to the transport is easier. Even we that are at east, it's easier for us to do.
Some fear the government and users fear to preserve the facilities that are for the benefit of all.
If they are vandalizing this and be you a common man, can you go to the track and stop those people, even if they are government workers? We don't know.
Are we to harass them because the train have not been passing? How can you vandalize the road or dig a tie road where vehicles are passing? If vehicles are not passing there, then it's automatically the government have engineered those people to come and support the road. Not even the vandalization are the problem. Who sent them to do that? And why is the government not arresting them?
These vehicles were impounded with vandalized rail tracks. Some suspects have been arrested in connection with the crime. But here it seems the Nigerian Railway Corporation will have much more work to do, as some persons have built residential houses within the parameters of the railway.
Now, the need to strengthen coordination and capacity around access to justice for survivors of sexual and gender-based violence has been emphasized at a sensitization workshop by the Ministry of Justice organized to engage prosecutors, investigators, and high court judges. As stakeholders said that such coordination became imperative as violence against women and girls in Nigeria now stands at 30% for women aged 15 to 49. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu has more.
The objective of the Interministerial Management Committee's workshop is to raise awareness on the dangers of the prevalence of sexual and gender-based violence. It is also to sensitize these criminal justice actors on the existing laws, cultural misconceptions, reporting of cases, as well as the preservation of evidence and getting the actors to work together to achieve the common goal of providing access to justice for victims and survivors.
We want the populace to know that we exist. We are working hard for their sake, for their comfort, for justice, to give them justice. And we are working together. You can see the three of us under one roof having this conversation. So we are there for them. We exist. We may not be as pronounced as the shelter, as the advocates, as the CSOs and all that, but you can hear from us.
We have to keep working in synergy because those who should be sensitizing are also there. For example, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, CSOs, the federal government body that, National Orientation Agency. So it's everybody has to play his or her own part. And I think, yes, this is on the one part, but that's only on the other part too. So I agree with you, it's a very critical component, but that is why you have NOA, that's why you have Ministry of Women Affairs, that's why you have CSOs and all of that.
Although there are laws and instruments to tackle sexual and gender-based violence, stakeholders say there is still more to do in getting justice for victims through judicial activism.
This meeting here today is to talk about it. Where are we? What are we doing that is not right? What can we do to make it better? What can we do to get better prosecution? Because like the minister said sometimes last year, we have almost 4,000 cases in court, but we're able to get just 12 prosecutions. It's something that needs urgent action. So these people here today are key actors.
There is a unanimous agreement here that ending sexual and gender-based violence would require access to the justice system as well as the protection of survivors and victims. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The 2023 general elections approach. As the 2023 general elections approach, the youth population is gearing up to take its rightful place in the democratic value system through engagements that will foster national development. This formed part of the deliberations at the 2022 African Young Leadership Summit, where the African Union Agenda 2063, which prioritizes participation of all for good governance, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law, came to the fore. Again, Aisha Salihu reports.
The young leaders at this summit are seeking to break barriers that limit the active participation of youth through the reawakening of the youth population.
I think young people should also voice out and support their kind and understand that anytime you collect money from politicians through a political process, they're going to recover all of that money when they get into office. So we must resist it. If we've waited this long with our bellies tied up, we should wait for the next few months and ensure that we install into office the right candidates.
Over the time, the young people, so to say, have
I won't use the words of being neglected, but they have not been carried along for some times. And I think the African Union as a whole has also realized this, and in their own wisdom, and that's why they say that it's better they run an inclusive union. Inclusiveness in the sense that all needs to also must be carried along, including the young people that we're also talking about. And I think that was the essence of making our leader to come together and adopted the framework that we call Agenda 2063.
It is believed that the youth who gained recognition at the African Union ambassadorial inauguration will work with folks in their immediate communities to represent the promotion of the agenda.
The hallmark of a really developed society is how much of respect they have for one another in the society. So for the ambassadors that have been given this opportunity today, we think that they should do more of what they've been doing that brought them up to the podium of this recognition. So we expect them to do a lot more going forward.
The only way you can get through to the next level is through your true competence and support for the country, and understanding that you must come first as a Nigerian before any ethnic, religious, cultural, or socio-political space.
In order to bring the young people on board to see how they can take ownership of the continent and they can see what belongs to them. So that is why we say the Africa we want by the end or before the end of 2063.
The consensus at the summit is that the youth population, through active participation, should be empowered to play a vital role in development as it affects communities. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
We just applaud them.
Now, the Sharia court sitting at Agari, Kaduna, has adjourned the case filed against a popular Kannywood actress Hadiza Aliyu Gabon to November 15 for the parties to report out of court settlement. One Bala Musa, a civil servant, filed the suit against the actress for allegedly refusing to marry him after spending 396,000 naira on her. According to him, he has been in relationship with the actress and that she promised to marry him. Gabon had, however, denied knowing him, saying that she had never met him in her life. The judge, Rilwano Keude, adjourned the case after a senior lawyer, Suleiman Lere, asked the court to give him chance to talk to both parties to settle the matter. The complainant's counsel, Nuruddin Murtala, supported the settlement proposal made by Lere, adding that reconciliation was an act loved by God and so will not oppose it. The defendant counsel, Mubarak Sani, also supported the settlement proposal, but prayed that the court to listen to the witnesses the complainant was supposed to present. Now, relatives of Imam Gani Abba, who was allegedly poisoned to death by his second wife, are demanding for justice. Until his death, Abba was Imam at Angwandoki in Maiduguri metropolis. Bitrus Kurutsi speaks to the family on the incident.
More than a week ago, residents of Angwandoki woke up with a sad news of the death of one of the residents, Gani Abba, who's the chief imam of this mosque. The imam died from a food poisoning served by his second wife, Fatima Abubakar. The death sparked outcry for justice in the community. The police had already arrested the wife and she has been in custody since then. Fatima confessed to have committed the crime and explained that the marriage was against her wish. I never wanted marriage. When I was with my first husband, I've never experienced peace. It's always problem upon problems. I ran back home and refused to go back to my matrimonial home. My parents persuaded me. I still didn't. So I met one woman who told me it's a spiritual problem. She gave me a 1,000 naira charm to bury that this evil spirit disturbing me will cease. But I've continued to have this anger and restlessness, and it's the evil spirit that made me to kill him with food poisoning. It was after he died that I came back to my senses. A relative to the deceased is demanding justice against Fatima's action. She revealed what happened before the death of Gani Abba. The family are not happy with what happened. On that fateful day, after I prayed, then I saw him coming back from work. Then I heard the wife asking if he is going out again. He replied no. So later, by 12 midnight, I checked he was unconscious. So we rushed him to the hospital where they gave him treatment and drugs. But he was still vomiting. So we took him to the hospital again. When we returned home, he died. We want justice. Effort to reach the public relations officer of the Maiduguri Police Command for more information on the case was unsuccessful.
Now, Emirates Airline has suspended flight operations to Nigeria over its inability to repatriate blocked funds. The airline, in a statement made available on Thursday, said that the suspension took effect from October 29, 2022. The airline said it has communicated its position to the federal government and the Central Bank of Nigeria. Emirates has, in August, suspended its flights to Nigeria over its $85 million blocked revenue. In August, the International Air Transport Association said that the foreign airlines have not been able to repatriate $464 million from Nigeria. The CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, subsequently promised to release $265 million to foreign airlines to offset part of the trapped funds. Emirates said it took the decision because it was yet to receive an allocation of its blocked funds to be repatriated. And also away from Nigeria, Ethiopia commemorated the 2-year anniversary since the outbreak of war in Tigray during a ceremony in Addis Ababa the morning after the warring parties agreed to a breakthrough deal for a cessation of hostilities. The warring sides in Ethiopia announced Wednesday an agreement to silence their guns after 2 years of devastating conflict that have claimed thousands of lives and left millions needing aid in Africa's second most populous country. The surprise deal between Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government and Tigrayan rebels was unveiled after little over a week of negotiations led by the African Union in South Africa and was hailed by the UN and the US, amongst others. The breakthrough was announced by the African Union's mediator, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, almost exactly 2 years to the day since the war erupted in November 2020. It was not immediately clear how the deal will be monitored to ensure it was implemented, and there was no mention by Obasanjo of international and rebel calls for Eritrea's feared army to withdraw from the battlefield. Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, has commended former President Olusegun Obasanjo for his contribution to a stable Africa. Reacting to the development in a statement on Thursday, Tinubu wished that the process results in the permanent resolution of the conflict. And now, finally, in sports news, Ghana will return to the World Cup after missing out in Russia 2018, with the few expecting the Black Stars to cause a stir in Qatar. With Ghana being the lowest ranked of the 32 teams that will participate in the 2022 Qatar World Cup, many believe it will be difficult for the team to stage a repeat of their historic run to the quarterfinals of the 2010 World Cup. But the four-time African champions will have the chance to exact revenge on Uruguay for their controversial 2010 exit on penalties when they again face Luis Suarez's side in their final group. the game following tough matches against the European giants Portugal and South Korea. Ghana have won just 2 out of 12 games in 2022, with the heat already turned up on manager Otto Addo, who himself replaced Serbian coach Milan Rajevac at the start of the year following a poor showing in the Africa Cup of Nations. And that's a wrap on the news hour for today. You can watch more via all our social media platforms for more, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching.